right after college. I shared an apartment in Shanghai with a girl. The first time I saw her, she was sitting on the sofa watching TV, barefaced with a sheet mask on. Even like that, she made me dizzy for a moment. Our first meeting was that simple. I was 22, almost broke, and dreaming of becoming a screenwriter. In the city, people said believed in dreams the most. She was 21, fresh from art school, dreaming of becoming an actress. And one day walking a red carpet. Our place was far from the subway, so every morning began with fighting for a shared bite. We soon got familiar. She told me the cat jumping around the house was named Tofu. She had found tofu on the roadside when she first came to Shanghai. Seeing it curl in her lap, I suddenly envied that silly cat. She worked as a part-time model and took photo shoots. I wrote melodramatic scripts for a little money just to survive in that expensive city. I always thought happiness was knowing life would keep still finding tiny surprises that gave you hope. Then one day I sold a script. It was as melodramatic as it could be, but the money paid my rent and kept me alive for a while. When I told her, her eyes lit up. She asked if I should treat her to dinner. So I suggested hot pot because I remembered she liked it. At the door, she suddenly stopped and asked me to wait an hour. Then she rushed into her room. She wanted to put on makeup. Her voice came from behind the bedroom door. Tofu sat on the sofa staring at me, so I picked it up and it calmly licked my hand. An hour later, the door opened. Sunset poured through the window, outlining her like a goddess stepping out of a painting. She wore a pale blue dress, her long hair loose, carrying the fresh vitality of a flower blooming in early spring. I froze like tofu. In that moment, I understood why the silly cat always looked stunned. Maybe her beauty even made cats foolish. The cat was foolish. And so was I. Her light makeup made me dizzy all over again. Even in Shanghai, among countless beautiful women, she was the kind of person people noticed at one glance. While I bought milk tea, someone tried to talk to her. I stood a little away, pretending not to care, yet feeling strangely sour
Only
inside.
after
she waved him away did my heart settle. When I walked over, she immediately linked arms with me and complained that I was slow. I casually asked what that guy wanted. She said he wanted her WeChat, but her phone was dead. Then hung her bag around my neck with a mischievous smile. I wanted to ask whether she would have added him if her phone had power. Then I pushed that jealousy down. We were only roommates. That night of dinner, movies, and wandering was not truly special. Yet I wanted it to slow down. Slower and slower. And never end. A life has 30,000 days, but only a few are worth remembering. Sometimes an ordinary day turns sweet only because someone walked beside me as the orange scent. on her drifted in the wind. The Huangpu River flowed below, and the city lights shone across the night. Life can feel short or long. The key is who walks through it with you. After that, we truly became friends. But as a newcomer with no background, she still had to attend dinners with crews, investors, and directors. They called it eating, but it usually meant drinking. One day was her birthday. I had seen her ID by chance, so I stayed home on purpose to prepare a surprise. But that night, I waited for a long time. Only one message came. She was having dinner with the director's team. The cake sat alone, and the dishes went cold. I stared at the bright windows outside, imagining warm homes behind them, until my phone suddenly rang and broke the silence. It was her. She sounded drunk, her voice almost crying. She asked me to pick her up. So I rushed out in pajamas and slippers. The hotel she named was actually a luxury restaurant. Expensive cars filled the entrance. Elegant men and women passed by, and I stood there alone, completely out of place. The doorman stared at me for a long time before letting me in. The place was huge and dazzling, and every waiter seemed to know I did not belong there. It was the most pressured moment of my life. Everyone inside was richer and more powerful than me, and taking her away meant offending them all. I could also turn around, pretend nothing had happened, and go home like a stray dog, keeping my pitiful pride intact. But could I really ignore her trembling call? Our time under the same roof, and the feeling of home she gave me in that enormous Shanghai. So I made the bravest decision of my life. I pushed the door open and stepped into the center of the stage. The room was dim and noisy. But the instant I saw her, time seemed to stop. Across the crowd, she smiled at me. The room fell silent. The man in charge looked me over coldly, decided I was just shabby, and told the waiter to throw this lunatic out. Then she stood up, walked through everyone's shock, linked her arm through mine, and said, "Sorry, everyone, my boyfriend is here to pick me up." She pulled me away before anyone could answer. Outside, the night wind finally cleared my head. She had held on only until I arrived. The same shabby BYD taxi came for us. The driver glanced in the mirror and asked if she was my girlfriend, then said she had clearly drunk a lot. I opened the window for the night breeze. The driver said she must like me, because girls were like cats and would not sleep that deeply beside just anyone. I wondered if she really liked me. People say city taxi drivers understand human nature, carrying love and loneliness through countless nights. I looked at her sleeping on my shoulder. Her lashes hung softly. Her skin glowed faintly. And I wished I could freeze time so This moment would stay forever. Many years later, whenever night wind entered the car, I still thought of those poor days in Shanghai. They never felt tragic because we had each other. The scenery outside rushed backward, and I wished this taxi could drive us all the way to the end of time. When we reached home, she could barely stand. I carried her upstairs, laid her on the sofa, covered her with a blanket, and went to make hangover soup. When I came out, she was half awake, staring at the city lights in silence. After a long while, she whispered, "Thank you for coming so far." I rubbed her head and said it was her birthday. She had forgotten. I wanted to celebrate with her. But now the food was cold. Her eyes turned red. Then I remembered the cake in the corner. We placed 22 candles on it, and she made a wish before blowing them out. The room felt dark again. That night, we talked about her childhood, her youth, college, and everything after she came to Shanghai. She talked about Sichuan, pandas, hot pot, the people she had met, and many interesting things. Then she leaned on my shoulder and said the city was big, but it was not home. Just then, a bright trail crossed the sky. She smiled through tears and pointed upward. A shooting star had crossed the galaxy and brushed past us. I silently took it as a good sign. I never asked what the investors had said that night, and she never mentioned it again. But she spent more time at home after that. I had a feeling she was going to leave Shanghai. Before goodbye, we ate together, watched movies, and visited places she had not seen. To leave more memories. One morning, she said she was leaving. The next day, and going back to Sichuan. I had expected it, but hearing it still made my heart ache. She hugged me lightly, trembling like a small bird, and told me to take care of myself. After that day, she vanished from my world, like a drop of water in the sea. Only after she left did I realized how large the apartment was. In a city of 20 million people, only she was missing. Tofu rubbed against my leg. I told the cat she had abandoned it. Then I broke down crying because she had abandoned me too. 2 years later, I also left Shanghai, the city that had hurt me. In the years after, I met many people, but memory kept only vague shadows. 6 years later, in Chengdu, I sat across from a director. The script, actors, and funding were ready. After years of rejection, I had finally reached the place I once dreamed of. The director said the female lead had been chosen, and that I would definitely be satisfied. Then the crisp sound of high heels came from outside. The door opened, and the orange scent after sunset arrived first. She stood in the sunlight with a faint smile, sweeping away years of gloom. I hoped she would recognize me, but she only nodded politely and distantly. Disappointment swallowed me While the director kept talking, her phone rang, and she left apologetically. From the window, I watched a suited man open the door of a black Maybach for her. The director asked whether we knew each other. I shook my head and denied it by instinct. But what exactly was I denying? Was I denying that she might belong to someone else? Or that even after success, I still did not dare recognize her? Back at the hotel, I opened our old chat. The last message from 6 years ago said, "Take care." Then a new message appeared. "Is it you?" After all those years, her message returned like a ghost chasing time. I teased her and pretended not to understand. During filming, I stayed on set. She often looked at me, as if trying to confirm something. Then messaged that I really looked like him, just much older. I thought helplessly that writing scripts watching her had handle fans so smoothly. I wondered how she had lived all these years alone. After filming, her car had not arrived. I offered her a ride. Inside the car, she sent me a message, and my phone rang loudly. She sent another one, and I could not hide anymore. I pulled over and admitted we knew each other. Her eyes reddened as she whispered, "Is it really you?" She suddenly threw herself into my arms and cried, soaking my shirt. Later, she leaned quietly on my shoulder and said she was not afraid of being photographed. Then my stomach growled. We went to eat. And beside the high windows and sea of lights, we talked about the years apart and about tofu. I told her tofu left for the cat planet not long after she was gone. She lowered her head sadly as fireworks bloomed in the distance. She said she wanted to return to Shanghai. The next night, we flew to Hangzhou. After 6 years, the city had changed, but it was still dazzling. Even with a mask, people kept turning to look at her. I said she was truly a star now. The autumn wind blew over the Huangpu, and I put my coat around her. We walked like the most ordinary lovers. There was no spotlight, no actress, only no screenwriter meeting softly in the night. I finally asked about the man who had opened the car door. She smiled like she had done something bad and said he was only her driver. The gloom in my heart vanished. I held her hand and she held mine back. Then the crowd suddenly cried out. Meteors were crossing the sky again. I told her to make a wish. We closed our eyes like everyone else. Love may arrive in a tiny instant, yet many people spend a lifetime missing it. At the last moment of the meteor's light, I finally kissed her. 6 years after our first meeting, we had our answer. I said I loved her, and she said she loved me too. Epilogue. So that is how you met? Asked the singer in front of me, still lost in his story. He told me to treat it as a melodramatic tale. I had seen the movie she starred in. She was stunning. But strangely, their was not a single kissing scene. So I asked why. He said there used to be one, but he deleted it. He claimed though the real reason emotion was more artistic. The lead actress was his girlfriend. After returning from Shanghai, he rewrote the script overnight. As for the 2-meter showers, I laughed and said they were written in for atmosphere. After he left, I sat alone on the balcony under a starless sky. Yet in a daze, I seemed to see that meteor, carrying countless joys and sorrows into the Milky Way. Good night.